Let's design the Galactic line. So I'm releasing a little toy so that you can create random characters, but I need some help. I have been live streaming some stuff, but unfortunately, it's hard to get good feedback on a live stream because my audience isn't experts on UMA. So I figured I would stop here for a moment and make a video asking you for help on some details. So here is the way that this looks when there's no animation, and you can see that there is quite a variation in body type and height and size and weight. All this stuff works pretty well. In this, there is no variation in body type or size or weight. Now the reason for that is because as soon as I turn the animator on, it overrides all of those bone deforms, and you don't get any sort of bone deforms at all. Now this is super weird for a large number of reasons, and I think that this is a change in Mecanim, because I used to use this technique all the time and it worked fine. I heard that they changed Mecanim to be compatible with UMA, so my hope is that the people who know something about UMA might see this video and tell me how UMA does it. Because this is the way that always made sense to me and it worked fine, but now it doesn't work anymore. So what am I doing? Well, all of the animations that I make, all of the actual motions, are rotation-only animations, and I only embed the bones that are actually being rotated. So this isn't a full body set of animations. And what that means is that you can see here when I am doing all of these poses, the T-pose aside, try a different pose, stand forward for example, none of the og bones are in here. It's just the bones that are affected by this. Similarly, none of the head bones are in here. Even without a mask, this should only affect these bones. But apparently there was a change to Mecanim where not only are all the bones on the body affected, but all of their various features are affected. So even though this is a rotation-only animation, it also affects their scaling and their transform, their translation. So it resets everything to 0, even on the bones that aren't affected. Now here's the most hilarious part. Not only does it affect the bones that are not in the animation, it actually affects the bones that are masked out. So if we pull the mask up here on the right, come on, you can see that all of these og bones are turned off. So even if the animation was misfiring somehow, the mask should keep it from affecting these other bones. But unfortunately, that's not the case, and it doesn't actually work. And you end up with all of the bones getting overridden without any sort of reason for it. So if you have any idea how this is supposed to work, please let me know. Because what I want to do is actually only animate the rotation. What I'd really love to do is to mix the layers and just add the rotation from each animation into a melting pot, which I thought was possible, but I can't seem to find any way to do it. Additive doesn't add between layers, it adds between frames, which isn't terribly useful. It might be useful if I really tried, but I'm not sure how that would be useful if there was no continuous motion going on. In theory, I can do something like update after Mecanim has fired. I can go in and set all the bones every single time, but that seems really silly. And what I'd like to do is not that. I'd like Mecanim to respect the masks. I'd like Mecanim to only animate the things that it's being told to animate. And I don't know why it is animating like this now, because I swear it did not used to do this. I used this trick dozens of times back in 2014. So if you know anything about UMA, you can tell me, please, how they're doing it. Or if you know anything about Mecanim, you can tell me how to make this work correctly. By the way, if I set the mesh to being humanoid, the rig for the mesh to being humanoid, then what happens is Mecanim will only affect the bones that are in the humanoid rig. and that will reset all of the humanoid bones, but all of the aug bones will be however I set them. They'll stay that way, which is interesting because that implies that the humanoid mask is actually more powerful than the fundamental mask object that gets applied to these layers. Unfortunately for me, a humanoid animation won't let you animate the face because the face is not a recognized Mecanim humanoid facial structure. So if you have any idea how to set this up to work properly, let me know. One of the things I tried to do is set up the animation masks for the animations, but I couldn't figure out how to do it. It seems to already be set up properly if you look down here in the transform. Oh, now it's not. It was set up properly and now it's not. But even if I set it up properly, there's no way to share this mask to the other animations, which means that I'd have to painstakingly click 50 different bones in order to have each animation work. So that's like 8,000 clicks. And moreover, the skeletal bones would still get animated improperly. So I need to have a method that won't overwrite the scaling and translation that I've already put into these bones, and I don't know what that method is. I can't find that method. And I guess if I have to, I'll settle for a late update that sets the bone scaling continuously every single frame. That seems really dumb, and it seems like that would really slow down the system. So let me know. Anyway, you can play with this if you'd like. It's pretty basic stuff, but hopefully it gives you some basic idea of the kinds of changes that we're going to see in the characters, between the characters. Without the bone morphs, though, they all have the same basic structure. That's it. Let me know if you know anything.